Welcome to the new podcast show, The Truth with Dr. Ruth. Join us in the chat room as she shares her personal stories and thought-provoking discussions on various topics. Feel free to explore these podcasts and join the engaging conversations. Invite a friend to our discussion that goes beyond conventional narratives, fostering a community where truth and understanding prevail on the podcast show, The Truth with Dr. Ruth. See you there.
Please be informed that the story you are about to hear is a unique blend of actual events and fictional elements. The narrative has been crafted in such a way to vividly convey the essence of the events that transpired. It is important to note that the names mentioned within this tale have been altered to protect their identities and maintain the integrity of the story's fictional aspects. We invite you to immerse yourselves in this captivating journey, where reality intertwines with imagination to create a compelling and unforgettable experience. Delusion of Grandeur. Jamal Reynolds, having moved to Barbados from Guyana as a small child, had always been mesmerized by the glamour that surrounded his affluent friends, Kyle and Malik. Growing up in a modest home, he marveled at their luxurious lives, expensive cars, extravagant parties, and dream vacations. The disparity planted seeds of discontent and envy within him. As a young adult, Jamal longed to carve out his niche, believing that wealth would bring him the respect and admiration he craved. He met Aisha, a beautiful woman from a family that had fallen on hard times. They bonded over shared ambitions and dreams of prosperity, and after a whirlwind romance, they married, hoping to rekindle the charm of affluence. Despite Aisha's cautious demeanor and realistic approach to finances, Jamal remained fixated on impressing his friends. He started a business with grand dreams, but lacked the guidance on managing money. Instead of seeking mentors or advice, he indulged in a lavish lifestyle, renting sprawling homes in affluent neighborhoods and throwing extravagant parties to keep appearances. Driven by his urge to showcase his success, Jamal borrowed funds from various acquaintances, promising to repay them with interest. He engaged in risky ventures, sometimes using one loan to pay off another, leading him deeper into a financial hole. His extravagant lifestyle seemed unsustainable, living in expensive houses, driving luxury cars, and dining at exclusive restaurants, while his debts piled up. In an ill-fated attempt to keep the illusion alive, Jamal ventured into real estate more dangerously. He began to sell properties that weren't his to sell, deceiving desperate buyers with unrealistic promises, exploiting their trust. At first, the thrill of his deception felt intoxicating, but the reality of his choices loomed over him like a dark cloud. Aisha, noticing the mounting stress in their lives, tried to convince Jamal to seek help and reconsider their financial habits. She warned him about the fragility of the facade he was maintaining, but he brushed her off, convinced that the next big deal would solve all their problems. The bubble finally burst when Detective Eliza Carter started investigating a string of fraudulent activities linked to real estate scams. As Jamal's deception unraveled, the repercussions caught up with him. Frantic calls from angry investors and creditors stormed in. Suddenly, the lavish parties became haunting reminders of his broken promises. One evening, after a particularly lavish event he threw in a desperate bid to impress friends and woo new investors, Jamal received a knock on the door. It was Detective Carter, armed with evidence of his transgressions. She presented the charges: fraud, embezzlement, and a litany of debts that had piled up against him. In an instant, the life he tried so hard to portray crumbled away. Jamal found himself handcuffed, filled with shame and regret. Aisha stood by, heartbroken, realizing the extent of his lies and the dreams they had built that were now disintegrating in front of them. Jamal was taken away, his dreams of grandeur turned into a nightmare. Aisha worked frantically to post bail to get Jamal out of prison, but Jamal's friends knew he was not innocent, but would never say it to Aisha, and knew that they would not agree to loan her the funds to get him out of prison. So, she fought on her own by asking her family to assist her with the bail money to get him out on bail. As Jamal stepped out of the courthouse, the bright sun felt like a spotlight on his shoulders. He could see Aisha waiting for him, her face a mix of relief and determination. "We did it, Jamal. You're out," she said, her voice steady, even though her eyes betrayed her worry. "Yeah, but this isn't over," he replied, a flicker of defiance in his gaze. "I'll show everyone I'm innocent. I just need time to gather the right evidence." Aisha nodded, trying to mask her doubt. She had spent every waking hour convincing friends and family to support him, believing in his claims of innocence despite the growing evidence against him. But whispers of discontent echoed through their social circles. Friends who once stood by Jamal were now exchanging glances, their loyalty wavering. They remembered the countless times he had dodged responsibility, the hollow promises he had made, and the debts that hung over him like a storm cloud. As the days passed, Jamal started to reach out to his old connections in an attempt to regain his footing. He planned a gathering at their favorite bar, hoping to pull everyone back into his orbit. "I'm going to turn this around, just watch," he told them, his charm pouring out like honey. But beneath the surface, doubt simmered. His creditors were getting restless, and they were not the type to be ignored. Meanwhile, Aisha began to feel the weight of the situation. Each conversation with their friends felt like walking on thin ice. She could sense their apprehension, their fear of being associated with a fraud. As she scrolled through her phone, she noticed a message from one of Jamal's former associates, warning her to distance herself from him before it was too late. "Jamal," she said one evening, her voice breaking the silence of their living room. "This is getting serious. People are talking. You need to be honest with me about what's really going on." His expression hardened. "You don't understand, Aisha. If I admit any wrongdoing, it's over. I need to stick to my story until I can prove them wrong." "But what if you can't?" she pressed, fear creeping into her tone. "What if you end up dragging us down with you?" Their home, once filled with laughter and dreams, felt heavy with tension. Jamal's refusal to face the reality of his situation pushed Aisha to the brink. She began to question everything, her choices, her loyalty, and what it meant to stand by someone who might not be worth it. Awaiting the court date, the pressure mounted. Jamal's creditors, tired of waiting, started to take action. Calls turned into threats, and soon, he found himself cornered. Aisha watched helplessly as he spiraled deeper into desperation, seeking quick fixes and risky deals that only entangled him further in deceit. Aisha one afternoon said to Jamal, "You need to tell the truth, Jamal. This can't go on like this. I can't lose everything because of your lies." Jamal, feeling the walls closing in, finally broke down. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could control it." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, Aisha realized the depth of his delusions. He wasn't just trying to prove his innocence, he was trapped in a web of his own making, too proud to admit that he had lost control. As the thought of a trial weighed heavier on them each day, Aisha made a choice: she would support him as he is her husband, and she also tend to believe his lies or is totally blinded by love. The moral of today's story is about living a life of delusions of grandeur often means being trapped in a self-constructed world where one's perception of reality is inflated, leading to an exaggerated sense of self-importance and entitlement. This lifestyle can manifest in various ways. 1. Unrealistic aspirations. Individuals may set lofty goals based on an inflated sense of capability, believing they deserve success without the necessary effort. This could include pursuing careers, relationships, or lifestyles that are far beyond their current means or abilities. 2. Financial recklessness. Many who live in delusions of grandeur may engage in extravagant spending to project an image of wealth and success. This often leads to mounting debt, strained relationships, and a precarious financial situation. 3. Social isolation. As the facade begins to crumble, friends and family may distance themselves, realizing that the individual's lifestyle is built on illusion rather than authenticity. This isolation can further entrench the individual in their delusions, as they seek validation from increasingly unreliable sources. 4. Emotional turmoil. The pressure to maintain an illusion can lead to anxiety, depression, and feelings of inadequacy. When reality inevitably sets in, the emotional fallout can be devastating, resulting in a crisis of identity and self-worth. Lessons to learn. A. Authenticity over appearance. Striving to keep up with the Joneses often leads to a life based on appearances rather than genuine fulfillment. Embracing authenticity means valuing personal achievements and contentment over superficial status. B. Understanding limits. Recognizing that everyone has different paths and timelines is crucial. Accepting one's limitations can foster a healthier mindset, allowing for growth at a sustainable pace rather than chasing unattainable ideals. C. Value of genuine relationships. True friendships are built on honesty and mutual respect, not on status or material possessions. Fostering genuine connections can provide support and grounding, helping individuals stay rooted. In conclusion, while the allure of living a life of grandeur can be tempting, embracing authenticity and reality is far more rewarding. By focusing on personal growth, genuine relationships, and financial responsibility, individuals can create fulfilling lives that reflect their true selves rather than a fleeting image of success. Thank you for listening, and remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Therefore, you would not miss out on new content. And whose truth? No other than Dr. Ruth.